Let's cultivate our motivation. Anger is one of the biggest impediments to generating love and compassion, because we can't, in the same mind moment, have love or compassion and anger. Why can't we have them both at the same time? Because they view the object that we're looking at, another person or an action or whatever, from opposite viewpoints. So the opposites can't be in the mind at the same time. So when there's anger in our mind, the possibility of generating bodhicitta and becoming a bodhisattva is out the window. So if we're really keenly interested in the bodhisattva path, in attaining full awakening, we have to do something about our anger, because it harms us. We think it's harming the other person, but the anger actually harms us, because it impedes us on the path. So it may take a while for us to really be convinced of that anger is an impediment, because it gets us going when we're angry, lots of adrenaline. But it very quickly makes us totally miserable as well. So form a decision to work with your anger, and for your own welfare as well as welfare of others, to subdue your anger. And then to practice seeing sentient beings as kind, as worthy of affection, as lovable. And then from there, generate bodhicitta, because you wish to benefit them, not harm them. So seeing how our anger harms us is one part of giving us the energy and the impetus to deal with our anger. Another part is to be convinced that the way we perceive someone or something when we're angry is distorted. It is not, we are not seeing the reality of the situation. Yeah, that one may be a little bit harder to understand. We can realize that, if we look that, yeah, we're not very happy when we're angry, and we can understand it. It impedes generating compassion and bodhicitta and so on. But to really understand that how we're perceiving the other person is erroneous, that one is harder. Because when we're angry, we are 105% convinced that we're perceiving that person correctly. Yeah, that how they appear to me at that moment is how they exist, as a rotten, good-for-nothing that I don't want to be around, who's driving me crazy and I have to get away from. Yeah. True or not? Is that how you see? When you're angry, you don't see them as kind and lovable, do you? Yeah. No, they are awful from their own side. It has nothing to do with your mind. Yeah. In which case, everybody should see that person the same way. Yeah. So that means, yeah, everybody should vote for who I vote for. Everybody should love who I love. Everybody should hate who I hate. And that's the way we think. Is that reality? Is that conducive? It just makes a whole big mess in the world, doesn't it? Yeah. So to really sit there and look at, what attributes am I attributing to that person that makes me so sure that they are intolerably awful. And look at, so take out your standard list of complaints about what this person does. Okay? And then this is a very interesting one. Think about maybe some bad habit that just drives you up the wall, okay? Then imagine somebody who you really care about doing that same action. Do you get mad at the person who you really care about when they do that action? You do?
Slurping tea drives me up the wall, is the way that I was raised. So anyone who slurps as they drink their tea, doesn't matter whether they're close or not.
The Dalai Lama is in front of you slurping tea. You're gonna climb up the wall because it's intolerable, because that's his inherent nature, to slurp the tree, and he's doing tea.
Do I get irritated?
Doing it deliberately to bother you?
Do I get irritated like that? Possibly. Do I work with my mind? I hope so.
Okay, today at lunch, everybody slurp your tea. Yeah, this is the one thing the psychologists use now. When like for PTSD, you get used to the stimulus and you get used to not responding the same way. So we'll do that. Well, all slurp, and you don't have to have tea. You can slurp water, and that has the same effect. Yeah. Okay, we'll try. Yeah, but there's a little story that Aryadeva tells, in the 400, how he has these little stories, some of which I have a really difficult time figuring out. But this one I can understand fairly easily. So it talks about a man who had two wives, okay? And both wives have had children, okay? And so and the wives were jealous of each other and didn't like each other because they were each, taking care of their own child and blah, blah. So the child of this wife no, this wife, okay, hears a noise in the kitchen and thinks that it's the child of this wife. And so thinks, that dirty scumbag going in the kitchen, stealing the food. They're always doing this kind of thing, then nobody else gets it. Yeah. And so really mad at the child of the first wife. Then she finds out that the person in the kitchen was her own child. And she says, oh, what do you need, honey? Let me get it for you. Same action. Yeah. But if the other wife's child does it, oh, if your child does it, oh, yeah, you're hungry, let me get you something. Okay? So think about some of the things, this person, that you just cannot endure. Yeah, because they go like this. I mean, this is like worse than killing somebody. It drives you. It's worse than slurping tea. It drives you up the wall and through the ceiling, and you can't stand that person because they're doing this. Yeah. And then you think of somebody you care about sitting and doing that. Yeah. Do you really have the same reaction? Yeah. Can you tolerate it? It's funny how some things, like when people fall in love, they bring with them all sorts of bad habits. But when you first fall in love, I mean, their bad habit is beautiful. You love them for it. Okay, fast forward, and we know what happens. Then that same habit you can't stand, and it becomes the thing that you're quarreling about and the reason why you're getting divorced. Yeah? Yeah, I told you about the peanut butter story. Yeah? So, you think that person's going to start remembering to buy you peanut butter? Yes, they love me so much, they're going to change. Okay, wait for that. And don't get angry until they do. You can't do it, because you think like her. Oh, anybody who doesn't buy me peanut butter when I want it for breakfast, I don't care who it is. Yeah, the Dalai Lama. Yeah, my teachers, the people, my parents, the people I love the most. I'm going to hate them because they didn't get me peanut butter. It's incredible to look sometimes at the reasons why we don't like other people. Yeah. Sometimes we see it as a character flaw, that they're going to have forever and ever. And sometimes it's one action that they do. Slurp, slurp that lasts, how long does a slurp last? How many seconds? 1 or 2? Yeah. So if you want to get her goat, 1 or 2 seconds is all it takes. And you can put her up the wall, without one of those things, that the construction guys have to lift you up. Okay. And it's so fascinating to look at how our own mind works. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when the cat barfs all over the place, it's like, well, that's the cat. You clean it up. If your friend barfed all over the place, why don't you go in the bathroom and bark there? You clean it up yourself. It's still the same thing of somebody having an upset stomach. Yeah. But we'll tolerate it from a kitty we love, but we won't tolerate it from another human being. Yeah, they should go like that. So, yeah, you know that old duct tape trip. Okay. So, yeah, so, really try and look at, what when you're drawing up your whole list of why you can't stand somebody, look at each one of them, and is that really grounds for just saying this person is intolerable? One of the examples they give when they talk about the equanimity meditation, not equalizing self and others, but equanimity between friend and enemy. Okay, so your friend gives you, this person over here gives you $1,000 today. They're your friend. This person over here criticizes you. They're your enemy. Okay, next day, this person over here gives you $1,000. Now they're your friend. And this person over here criticizes you, and now they've become your enemy. So which are they? Are they a friend or an enemy? Because one day they're one, the next day the next, and the two roles from the two people have just changed like that. So which one are they? Yeah. You're a friend one day, an enemy the next. I woke up this morning. I don't know whether you're my friend or my enemy today. Yeah. Let's go out and say hello. Let's do the bowing in the morning. And, and then I'll determine if that person likes me or doesn't like me for the rest of the day. Yeah. Oh, they didn't look at me when they were bowing. They hate me. Well, that's interesting because I also hate them because they didn't look at me. Of course, yeah, I didn't look at them either. No, I did look at them. I looked like this. Are you going to look at me today and bow? Or are you going to do what you did yesterday and completely turn your eyes away like I don't exist? Let me tell you, this is what happens in the morning. Yeah, I see some nodding heads. Yeah. If you don't look at me, I'm going to scrutinize you. And then I'm going to remind everybody in the whole group that you better look at every single person in the morning. Every single person means me. I don't care if you look at anybody else, but you better look at me and bow. And you better do a very good half bow, not this kind of stuff. Bowing from the waist. Yeah. Oh, you skipped me. Your hands pointed. I pointed to Sean, and then I pointed to Monsal, and I pointed, but she doesn't like me. So I pointed to her, But then Karen goes, "Oh my God, she doesn't like me. She didn't do like this to me." Oh. But Karen already doesn't like me because I don't. Because yeah, anyway. Yeah, but I complain. So I just look at how everybody relates to me first thing in the morning. They're still half asleep. They're not even sure who they're bowing to. They're just going in that general direction. Okay. Yeah. So think about it. I mean, this is quite applicable Dharma. Somebody, in the Q&A session yesterday with the people from the Hamburg Center, somebody said, the paramitas are very hard to practice. How do you practice them in your life? This is the third paramita. Yeah. How do I deal with my mind when my mind is just, you know? Yeah, you're smiling at me. That's okay today. When I complain to you about the construction guys, well, I better stop now while I'm...
Every single day.
Yes. Day. And did you notice again that a car is parked there? Yes.
I did. And I wrote Jeremy an email, and I'll see him at 11:30 this morning.
I think he doesn't even tell them. Yeah. You know, they park. You know where they park? On the road going to the upper meadow. Can you imagine that? You're as shocked as I am. How dare somebody do that? I mean, really, this is the worst thing in the world, you know, aside from finding all these other things they didn't put in the initial contract that now they're billing us for. This is almost as bad as that. I better really do the text. Okay, but, you know, this is really, the paramitas are, you know, they are very applicable in our lives, aren't they? Yeah. So it's not just reading about them and knowing the different categories and definitions. It's knowing which one to pull out, you know, and use to help your mind in any particular situation. Yeah. But then when somebody reminds you to practice an antidote to anger, then you get mad at that person. Wait a minute. Why are you telling me to, you know, practice that antidote? You don't know what this person did to me. My anger is right. Yeah, you don't understand. Oh, there was a video made. Venerable, you don't understand. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. But, or maybe I understand too well. But, you know, somebody reminds us to practice the antidote, and then we get mad at that person. Yeah. Because I want the person who's bugging me to practice the antidote. Yeah. I don't like them because they don't like me. So you practice patience and fortitude and love and compassion, you know. And after you practice those, then, you know, I'll like you and I'll be okay. So you first, yeah? Okay. 166. So he's hitting us strong here. I should not be dominating and aggressive, acting in a self-righteous, arrogant way. Instead, like a newly married bride. I should be bashful, timid, and restrained. And this is the way newly married brides were in India. You know, and in the West. Yeah, you hide behind your veil. You know, and then he lifts the veil and he faints because you're so beautiful, but you're supposed to be just shy, newly married. I should be bashful, timid, and restrained. Don't you like gender stereotypes? We're a bunch of bashful, timid, and restrained women here, aren't we? The men aren't laughing. No, you two are. Thank you. But yeah, so much for that. I mean, yes, Shantideva, I forgive you. It's okay. No, I mean, this is standard fare. But I should not be dominating and aggressive. Yeah. Anybody here dominating and aggressive? Really? Yeah, you're like, okay. Yeah, we all have that side of ourselves, don't we? Yeah, I am going to push this through and get my way. And I am going to be aggressive in doing it. Yeah. Everybody in this Abbey, this is the spatula thing, isn't it? Everybody in this Abbey must put the spatula in this container, or else. Okay, not being dominating and aggressive, but when we think, okay, I won't be dominating and aggressive, I'll manipulate them instead. No, this isn't a line encouraging manipulation. Okay. Manipulation is really, really yucky. Really yucky. And sometimes we manipulate it's not like we even have the intention in our mind, now I'm going to manipulate this person to get what I want. It's just so habitual, that's what you do. So to try and be aware. I shall not be dominating and aggressive, acting in a self-righteous, arrogant way. But I am right, and everybody should do what I say. Oh, well, there we are again. Yeah. Do you see how we always come back to the same thing? I'm the most important one. Everybody should do things my way. It's amazing. Instead, like a newly married bride. Yeah. Okay. So the women here have perfected being bashful, timid, and restrained. Yeah. Right? You don't look too happy about that. Neither do I. Okay. So I don't think it, as in all the other, as we're going through this, we're seeing again and again how if we don't understand what Shantideva is getting at, we totally come away with the wrong thought of what he's saying. Yeah. He's not kind of saying that everybody should be bashful, timid, and restrained, like, God, he's not saying that we should all be like that. But, when we find ourselves being dominating and aggressive, to chill out a bit. Yeah. After they move the cars, then I'll chill out. 167. Thus, O mind, you should think and abide in this way, and not act selfishly as before. If under the control of self-centeredness you transgress this code, your selfishness will be your end. So here you're talking to your self-centered mind, or maybe to your mind in general at the beginning, oh mind, you should think and abide in this way. In other words, not being aggressive and dominating and self-righteous. okay, and not acting selfishly as before. And he's giving us this advice because he's compassionate, yeah, not because he's trying to make us, to generate a rationale to oppress us. Mm-hmm. Okay, if under the control of self-centeredness, we continue to keep doing what we have been doing before, placing ourselves first and most important, then that self-centeredness is going to be our end. It's going to lead us down the slippery slope into a big mess. Yeah. So we can't say we haven't been warned. It's just we've been warned, but it takes a while for everything to sink in. It takes a while. I mean, because our self-centeredness is quite deeply rooted. And so thinking that we're just going to get rid of it like this, that's not going to happen. But so not to hate ourselves when we mess up, but to learn from our mistakes. And remember that the self-centered thought is not our friend. It really is leading us astray. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we think, oh, but if only I were in a position of power, then I could convince everybody to do things the right way, my way. It's because I don't have that title or that status in the group that they don't listen to me. Okay. So we think, the leader, yeah, they have all the power. They can pull everything off. Do you think it's fun for a leader to dominate other people, to be aggressive? For some leaders, you can see it is. Oh, they love it to bits. I get to trash somebody and humiliate them and make them feel awful. So therefore, I must be good and powerful. So there are those people. Yeah. But do you think everybody who's in a position of authority feels good about having to, enter in many different situations and correct people? Yeah. Initially it seems like fun. Yeah, I could go in any situation, tell people, don't do it that way, do it this way. And because I'm in the position of authority, they're just going to have to listen. Yeah. But try thinking about that. If that's what you have to do a lot, is interact with people with that kind of mindset. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. Yeah. Maybe, yeah. I sometimes think about, the people who are very hostile towards, different people in the government, and just saying, okay, you be president for a day and you try and handle all the different things on your plate. Yeah, see what that's like. Oh my goodness, do you want that responsibility? Okay, 168. However, mind, although you have been advised, if you do not act in a like manner, then since all misfortunes will entrust themselves to you, you will only be destined to destruction. Yeah, so the more self-centered we are, the more, we find ourselves in bad straits. We don't help other people, so they don't want to help us. Yeah, we take their stuff, so they take ours. We don't respect them, so they don't respect us. So Shantideva is giving us a warning, and and if we find ourselves being treated in ways we don't like, then we should look at our own behavior. Because sometimes, just even in this lifetime, our behavior is eliciting that kind of response. And sometimes it's due to past karma, like in the Wheel of Sharp Weapons, that how we acted in the past now is ripening upon us. So it could happen either way. But Shantideva's advice about, although you have been advised, if you do not act in like manner, then since all misfortunes will entrust themselves to you, you will only be destined to destruction. That still holds true, whether it's something we did this life or previous lives. So purification is quite important. When you get stuck in your practice, when you're studying and nothing seems to go in, or when your mind is really distracted, or when you're just in a chronic bad mood, do purification practice, very strong purification. It's extremely helpful. Yeah. So don't just sit there, oh, my practice isn't going well, what should I do? Do the purification, do the accumulation of merit, those practices. And they are very good for changing our mood and our approach. 169, okay, now we're really talking to the self-centered thought. That previous time when you could overcome me is now past. Okay, self-centered thought, you used to win, but not anymore. I see your nature and your faults, and wherever you go, I shall destroy your arrogance. Yeah. So to have that in mind when we find ourselves being domineering and aggressive and, making big things out of nothing. Of course, we don't see the nothings that we're making into big things as nothings. We see them as really big things. But again, it's very helpful to look at the situation from a different perspective. Yeah. When, sometimes maybe I look at different parts of the forest, and it's like, oh my goodness, we haven't done anything with this part of the forest. It's still a fire danger, and it's like, why aren't we doing something? Why didn't the previous owner do something? Na, 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 na. And then I remember 25 years ago, I didn't even think about this piece of property. I didn't even know it existed. How the forest was then, I didn't care. Yeah, it's only because of the change in circumstances that now this bothers me. If those guys were at a different construction site, I don't care where they park. It's okay. You can park in the kitchen if that makes you happy. But when you're here and I see you, then what you're doing is very important. And I have the right to tell you where you should park your oversized vehicle that you don't need and that's wasting gas that you could very easily do, ride sharing with. But, if they're at another, I don't care where they park when they're at their other jobs. I don't even think about it. Yeah. So it's quite interesting. Yeah. So if we don't do something with this self-centeredness, then wherever we go, we're going to have problems. When I was in the monastery in Thailand, when I was doing research for the Library of Wisdom and Compassion, I spent some time in a Thai monastery. And the building I was in, the back of the building, there was plants and stuff like that. And, people did what people do is they throw their garbage in back of a building where there's plants. And I remember looking at that and thinking, oh, I'm so glad I'm not the abbot here. Because if I were the abbot, that would drive me crazy and I would have to say something. But I'm just a guest here for a short period of time. It's not my business to comment on it. I just will not look at it, And yet, all you do is change the designation from visitor to abbot, and then this becomes a big deal. Yeah. The garbage didn't change at all. It's still the same, and the plants didn't change. Whether it's a big deal or not pertains to this mind. Yeah. Okay, 170. I should immediately cast aside all thoughts of working for my own sake. By having sold you, self-centeredness, to others, I shall not become discouraged, but shall offer up all your strength to others. So this is really exchanging self with others. Okay? So this mind that is so involved with me, I, my happiness, my ideas, my feelings, my pain, my pleasure, my body, my wants, my desires, my needs, my. Okay? That mind I've sold to others. Actually, I just gave it away. I'm not even charging for it. Bodhisattvas just give away, that mind that thinks what is more important. Instead of keeping it here, they put it over there. Yeah. So by having sold you to others, by having given you that mind that says, take care of me first, yeah, I shall not become discouraged at what I've done because I know what I've done is something good that's going to help me. But all your strength, the strength of that mind, when we really want something or when we don't want something, we dig in. Yeah. We're not timid, shy, and bashful then. Okay, I want something. I don't want this. Okay, so you give that strength to others so that then you really think others are more important than me. Yeah, and they come first. And we get over this thing of, I have to be first. I have to be noticed. I have to be appreciated. I have to be loved. I have to be understood. I. Yeah. When we study NVC, Marshall is asking us to get in touch with our needs. Yeah. Our needs and our wishes, and discriminate wants and needs, And he says there's many common needs that are very human that we all need. We all need social contact, we need appreciation, we need love, we need recognition, we need understanding. He puts, we need sleep, we need food. Yeah. So he puts all of these things in the category of needs. Yeah. But then when you look at it from a Buddhist viewpoint, yeah, okay, some of those things like eating, sleeping, so on, as physical creatures, we need those. The problem comes in when we are attached to them. Okay, so our body may need, we need to eat and drink to stay alive. But when it's, I want a certain amount of food, and I want a certain kind of food, and I want it at this time, and I don't want it with, lemon and vinegar and an orange all mixed up together, then, okay. So the difference between, a physical need and an attachment. But also to think, when you get to very high levels of the Bodhisattva path, then actually your body doesn't even need those things, let alone, appreciation, love, recognition, understanding. Those things are in one way, Marshall's right, they're basic human needs. Everybody wants them. In another way, they're all based on self-centeredness, aren't they? And they are so deeply rooted that when we do everything we can to possibly get them, and we get upset when we don't. Yeah. When I do something and nobody says thank you, nobody notices me, nobody appreciates me, I'm just a peg, in a wheel, and, this is, it's unfair, this is wrong. Yeah. So, some of these human needs, we put an extra dose of me, I, my, and mine in. Yeah. And so part of what we're trying to do on the Buddhist path, remember, is we are swimming upstream. So a lot of these things that, from a worldly perspective, seem we need and seem reasonable, from a Buddhist perspective, we want to slowly reduce so that we aren't so bound by those things. Yeah. Do you think His Holiness, is sitting on the throne saying, the last 2 days, how the children, applaud for His Holiness after he answered a question. I was cringing going, you don't applaud for His Holiness. Yeah. But for them, they're applauding. Do you think His Holiness cares if they applaud or not? Yeah. I don't think He cares beans. Yeah. He doesn't care. And he isn't kind of looking around, which of the people out there are just looking at me with, like they adore me, and He doesn't care. He's just teaching the Dharma, offering it, and it's sentient beings' choice what they do. He's not, concerned with, getting the top rating among teachers. He's not concerned with lots of thumbs up on his Facebook page. Can you just imagine that in the evening, His Holiness, before he goes to bed, looking at his Facebook page, did I get any more thumbs up? Oh, no, I didn't. Gee, I better do something tomorrow, Nobody's praising me. What do I got to do? Okay. So wherever you go, I shall destroy your arrogance. Yeah, look at the self-centered thought like that. Okay, 171. If, having become unconscientious, I do not give you to all living beings, it is certain that you will deliver me to the guardians of the hells. Uh-oh. This self-centered thought is not just a pain in the neck. It's outright dangerous. Yeah, it's outright dangerous. It will pick me up and kerplunk me in the hell realm if it controls me. So if having become unconscientious, conscientiousness is one of the virtuous mental factors, and it is a mental factor that respects ethical conduct. Yeah, that respects proper, suitable action and cares about that. Okay, so if becoming unconscientious, in other words, we don't care about our behavior, we just do whatever we want, whatever feels good, yeah, then the self, having become unconscientious, if I do not give you to all living beings, okay, so if I don't remedy my own state of unconscientiousness and recklessness in not keeping good ethical concern and not caring, the effects of my actions on others, okay, so if I don't give my self-centered thought to all living beings and that mind that says me, I, my, and mine, and put it on all sentient beings instead of putting it on this one. If I don't do that, that self-centered mind is going to kerplunk me in the hell realms because it just feeds my lack of conscientiousness. Yeah, and the more I lack respect for ethical conduct and for good behavior, then what's the karmic result of that going to be? I'm going to become more and more obnoxious and create more and more negative karma. Okay, are these verses making sense to you? Okay. 172, for ages have you dealt with me like this. So self-centered thought, you have just, put a ring through my nose and dragged me here and dragged me there and pretended to be my friend and you're not. And, so for ages you've dealt with me like this and I have suffered long because for ages I followed my self-centered thought. Yeah? Self-centered thought says, you have the opportunity to get more broccoli, take it. That seems like something stupid, but I think substitute $5,000 for broccoli. It's the same mind. I have, the opportunity to get this $5,000 by cooking the books. What's wrong with me that I don't take it? I have this opportunity to blame my own failure on somebody else, to put the responsibility to them. Why don't I do that? I don't want to look bad. Okay, so I've suffered long because of bowing down to the self-centered thought. But now recalling all my grudges, in other words, I'm not forgetting about how much the self-centered thought has deceived me and made me miserable, and I have a grudge against the self-centered thought. So instead of holding grudges against human beings, sentient beings who are kind, hold the grudge against our own self-centeredness. So recalling all my grudges, everything you've done that I can't stand, that I want to obliterate you for, I shall overcome your selfish thoughts. Okay, so I'm going to overcome you. It's interesting because if you think of somebody you don't like, you can say this exact same thing to them. Yeah? Somebody I don't like. Yeah. For ages you have dealt with me like this, and I have suffered long. You've mistreated me, you've ignored me, you haven't appreciated me. But now, recalling all my grudges, I shall overcome your selfish thoughts because You are very selfish. You never cared about me. That's how we think about somebody we don't like. And here, we're flipping the situation and saying that about our self-centered thought. Okay? So this is an interesting thing, when you notice your own mind is starting to ruminate, going through that list of everything you don't like about somebody, or everything they've done to you that was unfair. When you start reviewing that, then instead of focusing on the other person, flip it and focus on your own self-centered thought and say the same thing. Yeah, are you getting what I'm saying? That would be quite interesting, wouldn't it? Yeah. One thing that happened to me many years ago that just, oh my goodness, it was very painful. It made me so angry. So I was in a group of people, and I was delegated to write the book that was the outcome of a conference that we had all been participated in. And I wrote the book. Okay, I gave it to the publisher. Yeah, so far so good. I signed the contract with the publisher. Then the other people in the conference, they, behind my back, asked the publisher to look at the manuscript. And because I had they had done presentations, I had abbreviated their presentations because I felt that the response of the experts was more important to include in the manuscript. Not, people had given like a whole presentation. I made it small and then gave the response. Yeah? Well, these people were not happy. They wanted their presentations in the book. The whole presentation, not the abbreviation. And then the whole manuscript got politicized, and I was there in the middle of it. You should put this in, you did it all wrong, da, 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 da. And them going behind my back and talking to the publisher, wanting me to rewrite this whole thing when I had written it freely. They weren't giving me anything to do it. And now they're criticizing me, and I am furious, and they wanted to pull the whole thing from publication. So I sent them the manuscript, and I said, you don't like what I wrote, you take it, you can do what you want. Nah. I said it nicely, but this is the way I was feeling inside, Okay, you want your presentation? Here, take it, put it in, you take charge. Take my name off of it, take everything, I'm not. I am too good to work with you. And these were people who were very well known. Yeah. They weren't just Joe Blow. They were very well known people. Boy, how could they do that? I got so wrapped up in the story, I forgot what verse I was on. But for ages, I was so bad. And actually, some other people in the conference sided with me against these people who wanted their things in it. Yeah, it was just awful. And I suffered more than anybody else. Why? Because I was ruminating about this all day long. Yeah. In America, I can remember even where I lived, ruminating, getting so angry. Then I went to Asia, at His Holiness's teachings, getting so upset, getting so angry. And then realizing one day when I was walking after the teachings that of there were only 7 billion human beings at that time, that of all 7 billion, I was the only one who was so upset about this. Yeah. But it really was earth-shattering. This experience of me was more important than the other 6,999,999 people, because it was happening to me. Don't you feel sorry for me? Yeah? I feel so sorry for me. I suffered so much, and I have all sorts of other stories throughout my life of people. You want to hear those too? Of people who didn't appreciate me and ignored me and criticized me. Oh, there's so many of those. Yeah. Yeah. And the more you can listen to me whine, the more I love you. Yeah? Isn't that true? Isn't that how very often, in Tibet, how you make friends in the Tibetan community is you help somebody with, they need help with something, you help. And then that makes you friends. In the West, how do you become friends? You tell each other all your secrets, all your inner pain, all the injustice that has been perpetrated against you. And the more those people nod and say, I understand, really, it's so bad, I'm on your side, then that's what makes you friends. True or not true? Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Yeah. So just listen to me whine and I will love you. Why? Because I feel special, because I'm the one that you trust so much with your whining. Yeah? You can whine all you want. You can criticize others all you want. You can claim injustice all you want. And I love you back because I'm special, because I, get to hear that. And then, of course, you listen to mine, I listen to yours. Yeah. So, yeah, just interesting in different cultures what people use, I think in previous periods in this country, it was more the practical thing. When the people were, the foreigners were settling this country, they didn't have time to think about their inner child. And I don't know, what's the latest thing now? There's always trauma. Oh, that's right. Yes. The kids last year at the youth week, they explained to me that everybody has trauma now. Isn't that amazing? I said, you all have trauma? Yes, that's how we become good friends. We share our trauma with each other. Yeah, I don't know what trauma means anymore. Yeah, it seems to mean I don't get what I want. I'm not sure, but yeah, to me, the way I grew up, trauma was really trauma. Was really, severe stuff. But now, I don't know, everybody here have trauma? Yeah, you have trauma? You what? Huh?
I've heard the modern psychological usage of trauma explained as something that has changed your view of yourself or of the world.
Oh, so then Buddhism is trauma.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, it's changing your view of yourself and the world.
Shantideva is very traumatic.
Yeah. Oh, he's dramatic, not traumatic. Yeah. That's interesting. Isn't it? That changes your view of yourself. Even it changes for the better. That's trauma, huh? Okay. Let's all pray to have trauma then. Oh, look. Wait a minute. Oh, we're 3 pages from the end of this chapter. And we won't have Shantideva telling us how selfish we are every week. Instead, he'll tell us how we don't exist. That makes it very easy not to be selfish if you don't exist as you think you exist. Yeah? Okay, 173. Likewise, if I wish to be happy, I should not be happy with myself, meaning my self-centeredness. And similarly, if I want to be protected, I should constantly protect all others. Yeah, that's beautiful, because people want to be protected. We're so concerned with being vulnerable ourselves and wanting protection, but wouldn't it be nice if we could protect others? Yeah. And the first thing we need to protect them from is our self-centered thought. Yeah. So if I wish to be happy, I should not be happy with myself. So this is not saying we should hate ourselves, that we should be miserable in our life. It's not saying that. It's saying I shouldn't be happy with my self-centeredness. Yeah. When I was sitting there, going round and around and around about what those people did to me with the manuscript, I wish to be happy. What was making me not happy? I thought it was these people's action. Yeah. But they could have still done that, and I could have dealt with the situation differently without my self-centered thought making me so unhappy. Okay? So in many cases, the solution to the problem, so in some cases, the solution to the problem is don't do the action. In some cases, the solution is do the action, but change your motivation. Yeah, change it from a selfish motivation to wanting to benefit others, or in my case, I wasn't really at the point of, I wanted to benefit all the people who were going to read the book. Okay, but I didn't want to benefit these other people who wanted their presentations in because they were more famous than I was. I wasn't very famous at all. They were. And they're bossing me around. How dare they? I should tell you their names and ruin their reputation forever and ever and ever. Then I will feel vindicated. I triumphed. Yeah. So the book never got published. Never got published. But the things that I had written in it from the expert got put in another book. So I showed them. No, it was, yeah, and was actually looking at it now, it was better suited for that other book. So good. But why did I have to get so bent out of shape? Yeah, of course, if there's a book, everybody's going to have a different opinion of how it should be written, especially if it concerns them. What was I expecting? I was expecting they should all say, oh, you did a marvelous job doing this. Thank you so much for abbreviating my presentation that I worked on so long, But they didn't say that. So I have trauma. Did it change my view of myself? Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the end of not at the end of the story, in the middle of the story, I talked to somebody, one of the experts, who commented, this whole thing got politicized, didn't it? Yes, it did. Oh, I was vindicated. Goodness. You know? You look back at all your own trauma, people, what they do to you. Yeah, when I was writing one of the volumes of Library of Wisdom and Compassion, some of you were here at that time. There was one Geshe who was helping me write it. Not this Geshe. This Geshe's great. That Geshe. That Geshe, would tear me apart, tear me to shreds sometimes going through the manuscript. So I was getting angry because I thought what he was saying was false. Yeah. And one day I said, I should actually listen to what he's saying. And maybe he's right. So I listened. And then I lost all my confidence in writing the book. Because he was saying, you don't know anything, you're not qualified. I said, oh, yeah, he's true. I mean, who am I to do this? I don't know anything. Yeah. So then I went to the incarnation of one of my teachers, with my sob story, and said, what do you think? Should I just resign and let him or let somebody else do it? Because he's right. I'm not qualified. Yeah. And, and then of course he gave me a pep talk. And then after that, I felt so bad. Like, why did I go and whine? Why did I go and to somebody who I really respect and whine so that he had to give me a pep talk? That's not the way I want to be. Very interesting, the situation, So it made me look at my whining. So now I whine to all of you. Because this happened many years ago. So you know how, your money collects interest? Well, everything you whine about collects, interest too. And so you have more people to whine to than just your teacher. Stupid. Okay. So likewise, if I wish to be happy, I should not be happy with myself. And similarly, if I wish to be protected, I should constantly protect all others. Yeah? So this is, Mother Teresa's way, if I'm lonely, give me somebody to love instead of give somebody to love me. If I feel unappreciated, give me somebody to appreciate instead of wanting the universe to appreciate me. Yeah. And we have to be careful here. It's not because we're not worthy of appreciation. It's because that attachment to being appreciated just makes us miserable when we really look at it. Yeah? Because then every situation we're in, what our mind is focused on is, are the people noticing me? Are they appreciating me? And we see every situation through that, and we miss everything else that's going on with the other people. Yeah? Yeah, we're not thinking about how other people are taking it in, what's going on with them, what's happening in their life. We're just looking at every situation with the eyes of, are they sufficiently appreciating me? That's kind of sad, isn't it? That's kind of sad when we go through our whole life like that. Okay. So we'll pause here, because next verse he's going to go more into the body. Questions, comments?
I think the one thing that's still I'm working on and it still horrifies me is that the self-centered thought is so sneaky that anytime that I'm looking at somebody, I'm saying, there's a fault, there's a fault, there's a fault, I don't like that behavior, is that the self-centered thought has totally turned my own bad behavior. 99% of the time, the things I kvetch about other people's faults are exactly the ones I have.
Exactly.
It's like a mirror, but it doesn't want to own it.
Yeah.
So it throws it out there to somebody else, and then I'm just riled up, and I go, why does this feel familiar? So I'm becoming much more cognizant of that habit.
Yeah. And why do we find those actions so objectionable in other people? You know, how come we notice those? Because we're so familiar with them, you know, and we know, oh, that's what arrogance looks like. How do I know what arrogance looks like? Because that's how I behave. Yeah, but I can't stand when I see it in other people.
So speaking of arrogance, back to that very first verse where that we did today, I should not be dominating and aggressive and so forth. Instead, like a newly married bride, bashful, timid, and restrained. So if we reject bashful, timid, and restrained, if we reject that analogy, could you talk a little bit about what is an analogy or what way we could hold it? Because definitely it's a problem, but bashful, timid, and restrained like a new bride is probably not going to work for me very well.
Yeah, this is happening. It came up the other day. Was it with you or somebody? Where I said, I was saying that it was with somebody. I can't even remember. Okay, when he's recommending being bashful, timid, and restrained, and we say that's not the way to deal with it, then people think, okay, let's behave the opposite, so I will be dominating and aggressive. So we always think if we negate bashful, timid, and restrained, then we have to do the opposite. In terms of bashful, timid, and restrained, the lack of those doesn't mean being aggressive and overbearing on other people. Okay? So we have to realize that, because we tend to think if it's not black, it's white. You know, and if it's not white, it's black. But what about pink and purple and chartreuse and polka dots? And there's lots of other options. Okay? But we tend to put things in just, either I do this or that. Either the person's this or they're that. But there's like all sorts of other things. Okay. So you don't want to be bashful, timid, and restrained, but you don't want to be dominant and aggressive either. So what do? You go to the other person and say, please tell me, how you're seeing this situation. And, if they have a plan and they're enacting it, please tell me about it, why you think this is going to work well. 'Cause I want to understand why you're doing why you're doing this. And then you listen and think about it. And it could be that, what they're choosing to do is good. It could be that that they've missed a few details. It doesn't mean the whole project's bad, but maybe they're missing a few things. And then you can say, oh, do you want some feedback? Do you want some comments? Or, I was once doing a project like this, and if you're interested, I can give you some tips. Yeah. So you just, if you approach it like this is a problem, and I've got to win the argument, then that's what it becomes. If you approach it as, let's see, what the other person is thinking, yeah, then, there's a chance maybe to have some discussion. And then if you think the person's reason isn't good, then you say, well, how about this factor? And did you, was this put in the mix?
Years ago, I think I might have just met the Dharma, maybe. And I was at work, and I, had a really self-centered, and didn't really know it at the time, and got just really angry about not being appreciated at work. And this manager that I had conflict with, because, kind of, passive aggressive stuff, and, just overseeing and, like this. And it got to the point where I got really angry, and I, kind of forced a confrontation, and then I got fired. And then, I held a grudge and just hated this person. I think after about a year and a half, I just finally just kind of, I don't know, forgave them or just maybe took ownership of it, and I felt so relieved, when I let go of all that crap,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do feel very relieved. Being angry and holding a grudge is quite unhappy making. Yeah. We had somebody come here, one young person who, I guess when they were young, they were acting out a lot. And they told us that after they came here, they went back and they apologized to some of their middle school and high school teachers. Yeah. I thought that was so incredible. I mean, those of you who are teachers, can you imagine a student coming and apologizing to you? Wow. But that's what he did. And I thought, wow, this is, great courageous one. Yeah.
If you address the self-centered thought, who is it that's doing the addressing, and do you have a term for it?
If I'm going to address it?
If you address the self-centered thought, who is it that's doing the addressing?
The conventional I, the wisdom I.
This isn't a question, it's information. The Samsa definition of trauma is individual trauma results from an event, series of events, or set of circumstances that is experienced by an individual as physically or emotionally harmful or life-threatening, and that has lasting adverse effects on the individual's functioning and mental, physical, social, and emotional or spiritual well-being.
Yeah, that's how I think of trauma. Yeah, but that seems to be the old-fashioned definition. Yeah. But
they say the teachings and practices are wonderful therapy for trauma.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, they are. They are, Otherwise, if you have trauma and you think this, just the thought, this has wounded me forever. If you think this has wounded me forever, it has wounded you forever. If you think, this was a horrible event, it is not happening now, I can remember it and, learn from it and make some resolutions about, how I'm going to act towards other people, then it ceases to be traumatic. Yeah, but as soon as you tell yourself, I'm never going to recover, you won't recover. It was like little Tyrone in 3rd grade who told himself he can't read. Somebody must have told him that in 1st grade, and he couldn't read very well. You know, the first thing he had to do was convince him he could read. Yeah? Remove that block that says, I can't do it. It's forever and ever. Yeah. And if you think from a Buddhist viewpoint, if you say, you know, that has traumatized me forever, are you thinking future lives you're going to be traumatized? Are you thinking that you'll never become a Buddha because of this incident? Is one incident going to completely overpower everything else in your whole series of lifetimes? Yeah. Some people might think I'm too cavalier about trauma and don't take people's trauma seriously enough. You know, maybe. But I also know from my own experience what happens when you ruminate and tell yourself something again and again and again. I know very well how that, that just stops you from growing. So I guess, and I told Venerable about this, I was thinking about her BBC yesterday, and she was talking about, there could be instances in which having an expectation of somebody is appropriate because you have certain qualities or you're in a certain position or what like that. So that is an appropriate expectation. And I went, and I said, because I've looked at my life and I decided, no, that isn't an appropriate expectation. Because as soon as I expect somebody to treat me in the same, to notice my good qualities and treat me in the same way, or to notice what position I have and treat me according to how you should treat people in that position, that whenever I do that, I'm setting myself up for not getting along with people, because I'm expecting them to do things that many people just don't think about doing or don't do or whatever. And yeah. So, but I think that thought of, well, I am in a certain position, or I have certain qualities, therefore people should treat me like X, Y, and Z. And where does that come from? Yeah, it doesn't come from cherishing others. It comes from this one. Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine His Holiness after giving the teachings, strutting through the crowd? I am the Dalai Lama. I'm so glad you have your katas out there. I'll pick who of you is worthy of me taking your kata. That's not how His Holiness walks through the crowd, is it? Yeah. So, yeah, he could claim, well, I'm the Dalai Lama, you should treat me in a certain way. He could claim that, and then we would all say, what an arrogant Dalai Lama that is. Yeah, but it's interesting because he's so humble. That's one of the reasons why we praise him. Because he's sincerely humble. He's not putting on an act. Yeah. So, okay, let's dedicate.